Hello everyone, it's a pleasure to be back again to talk to you all about something different. And a lot of concepts in economics and in finance and international finance are always confusing, and there are a lot of concepts because there's so much development that is happening in the field of international finance and financial markets and how stock international transactions happen. Given that, I would like to dwell upon two things today, and that is one is interest rate parity, and the other is why should there be interest rate parity? What happens if there is no uh, equalization of interest rates between countries? Now, the main thing or the main question to ask is why should interest rates why are there different interest rates in different countries, and how do they matter to us? Economists and those who are in the finance field and policy making, the main point is that there exist different interest rates because the value of different currencies and different home markets vary significantly. So no two countries can ever have same interest rates. But what if they had? What if we try to ensure that there is some interest rate parity? That means you're sitting in India and you find you want to trade some amount with, say, some market in some exchange in America. If you were to, if you wanted to do that, so what would happen is you would expect that transaction to be possible if the interest rate in America is higher. Only then would you be incentivized to go and put it in America. Otherwise, why would you even put your money in American stocks or American investment? So this is one part. But what if your interest rate, if you are sitting in India and the Indian interest rate market is showing that the interest rates are going up in India, what would happen then? Would you invest it abroad or would you invest it in India itself? You would naturally tend to invest it in India. So therefore, one key takeaway is that you would invest where the interest rate is going to be high. But when there is going to be equalization, there's going to be one thing that is happening. Your exchange rate that is there between countries, that is at this forward, at the forward, it means in the next couple of weeks, so that you can always calculate what is the forward rate. So you have a forward rate and you have a spot rate, that is today's exchange rate. If you take these two, the interest rate changes should not, you know, be should be in tandem with what is happening in the exchange rate market because both determine each other. So if you take interest rate parities, essentially the difference in interest rate between countries should be roughly equal to what is the difference or the relative change in the exchange rate market. So you have two cases now. One is something called as the covered interest parity, which takes into account the forward rate. And so you get a formula which I'll just show here. So covered interest parity is one, and the second is uncovered interest parity. That means there is no need for a forward rate to be factored in. So you would just be taking the difference in interest rate between countries, and you expect them to be almost equal to the relative changes in the exchange rate or the spot exchange rate. So in the market, when you go and buy, you try to exchange your money. If you find that the interest rate changes, so if you are sitting in India and you find that Indian interest rate and American interest rate take a difference, it is same as what you get in the exchange rate, relative exchange rate uh, difference. Then you would have no incentive to exchange today in the American market. If you, after all, why are you talking about all this? Because you take your rupee, you exchange it into dollar terms, and you go and put it in American market, where you get a much higher profit. The whole point of interest rate parity is to reduce that profit and sort of equalize the profit making, and so that there's no risk less profit in simple terms. You can't just make profit just by exchanging money and that's enough. No, profit should have some cost at some point. So it should be having an element of risk, and that is why you have this factor wherein exchange rate and interest rate both are factored in it. And the next part I'm going to dwell on is a short one. So if ever your actual exchange rate is equal to actual forward exchange rate, if you calculate covered interest penalty where you have a forward exchange rate and you have that is what you get out of that calculation. But what you have, if you have a separate exchange rate, which is the actual market forward exchange rate, if there is a difference, what you'll experience is a rise in the value of one currency and rise in a fall in value of the other currency. So in this context, what is important is the changes in exchange rate are determined by changes in interest rate and vice versa. To be honest, there's no the domestic interest rate cannot be does not have any built-in influence of the exchange rate market that's happening abroad because it's determined by the domestic banks. But a catch arises that is there is a you need to factor in what how things change. So if there's a rise in interest rate today in India, that would mean if the interest rate in America is low, that would simply mean American investors coming to the exchanges and converting their dollar into rupee. That means they're demanding more rupee and putting it in Indian markets, Indian finance markets. Vice versa, the same notion. If the American interest rate goes up and relative to Indian interest rate, the demand for dollar increases. So you go to the exchange market and you would ask for more dollars, and you begin to conduct a transaction where you sell the rupees and you buy dollars and go and put it in America. So in this way, what happens is because of interest rate changes, you would experience capital inflow and outflow. So this is one aspect of the exchange rate market. And that's how exchange rates also get determined by how interest rates vary. So that's why you have these two aspects of interest rate, that is covered interest parity and uncovered interest parity. The difference is simply this. In the first case, you have forward exchange rate being factored in, and in the other, it's not. You just take the uh, difference in interest rate between countries and difference in the percentage difference in the exchange rate at the spot rate. There's no forward rate. This is one aspect. So the third aspect in this interest rate parity concept is how exchange rates vary as interest rate changes. So we saw that there's a demand for dollars that's going up, and the dollar, the interest rate in America goes up. So why does this, how does this translate on ground? So you have, if you take more dollars, if you demand more dollars, naturally your dollar value. If you take the exchange rate, the dollar is going to appreciate and your home currency will depreciate in the exchange. And in the other, if you take it the other way around, so if Indian markets show up a rise in interest rate, that means your interest rate is going up. That means the value for your currency or your market is going to go up. Naturally, Indian rupee becomes more valuable, and therefore people will demand more rupee in order to trade in Indian market. And this is basically going to lead into an appreciation of Indian rupee and a depreciation of the dollar. So this is one simplistic aspect, and this is how capital inflow and outflow is going to be determined by changes in interest rate, and that simultaneously affects the exchange rate between countries. Now, moving on, I'll dwell upon why there should why is this notion even created? Why should the interest rate be equal, at least on paper, at least in theory? Why should the interest rate between two countries be equal? What is the basis for that? You notice that there is a risk element of risk element of arbitrage. So what is arbitrage? Arbitrage is essentially taking advantage or rather capitalizing on the difference between interest rates in two countries. So if I have whatever I just mentioned earlier, that you have a smaller interest rate in India and a higher interest rate in America, you would naturally be simply exchanging the money at the exchange and then putting that money abroad and making a riskless profit. But what happens because of this? One, of course, profits are made by speculators who are engaged in this kind of arbitrage. But that in many ways affects not just the exchange rate but then the capital movement between countries, and it can actually drive up markets. So arbitrage is one. It's something that most markets. It's a part of the market system, but there is going to be one needs to try to control the amount of arbitrage that can happen, because otherwise it can destabilize currencies if it's too volatile. So from here, we'll move on to arbitrage. And when it comes to the arbitrage and the concept of capitalizing on differences in interest rates between countries, there's a certain point or a small concept that has to be understood. You have something in exchange rate currency markets called as quote, or you quote some price and then people will buy some price. So you have two things. One is the bid price and the ask price. If you're willing to sell, if you're willing to exchange at the market, to bid is generally the price that you pay or you're willing to pay. So if you take the price, bid is generally the price that you're going to purchase the other currency at, relatively. Given that it's an exchange rate, so if you take it in those terms, bid is a certain amount of exchange rate that you're willing to pay for exchange of a certain currency. If you're going to sell, going to go to a counter market where you're going, which is trading in this, and you will be the bid is the price that you're going to purchase the currency at. And if you take the ask price, it is the minimum price that you can uh, quote while you're selling some currency. So bid and ask are essentially what you're going. Bid is the price that you're going to purchase a currency at, or you're going to initiate the transaction in, and ask price is essentially the amount in which, or the minimum amount which you are going to quote to sell a certain amount of currency. And this, the difference between these two is what is known as bid ask spread. That means it determines how liquid a currency can be. So what are the types of arbitrage? When does arbitrage arise? Because there is a difference in interest rate. So what kind of possible arbitrage can occur? You have three options. One is locational arbitrage, where it is essentially between two banks. So if you have two banks in two countries and trading in the same amount, same exchanges, the, what is the difference? You're going to capitalize on the difference that banks quote. So if you take the bid and ask price and the banks vary in that, you purchase from if somebody is quoting a lesser ask price and the other is quoting a higher buy price. So say if you are sitting in India and you're going to go to a foreign exchange dealing investment bank, and you purchase some amount at so a certain ask price, and you go and take advantage in the difference in interest rates, and also and go to say a currency somewhere in England. In England, if the bank is offering you a higher bid price, you're going to sell that and you're going to make profit. So it's going to be determined purely on locations between two banks. That is the locational arbitrage. Second, it is the uh, triangular arbitrage. So you have three aspects. You basically have three currencies. So you take a dollar, you take the rupee, and you take the say Malaysian ringgit. You can take any currency you want. So there are going to be three currencies. So to explain the triangular arbitrage, what essentially you can conceive is you take a certain amount of dollars. So you want to capitalize on the interest rate differentials in countries. So what are you going to do? If you take a certain amount of dollars and put it in, convert it into rupee terms. So you come to India, you make a you ideally convert it into rupees, and now the amount that you get after conversion into rupees, the equivalent amount is again converted into a third currency. Okay, you take converted into the Malaysian ringgit. So you get a certain amount of that converted dollars into rupees into Malaysian ringgit. So there's two transactions happening. First, you convert from US dollar to rupee, and from rupee you convert into Malaysian ringgit. Now the third aspect, the third transaction is once you convert it into Malaysian ringgit, now you get a difference. You're going to capitalize on the difference between what is the rate in Malaysian currency and the US dollar. So what you do, you convert once you get to convert an amount in Malaysian currency, you simply go and put it in the uh, uh, you bring it back into the American dollar. So what you find is you're going to gain in certain ways, and that is basically the amount that you invest. That is going to change. When you put it in rupees, you get a certain amount of dollars. But when you do a third transaction by converting into third currency, and then you bring it back, you're going to gain a lot. So this is what is known as the triangular arbitrage. So you have, if you conceive a triangle this way, and you have a dollar, you have a rupee somewhere here, and you have a Malaysian ringgit here. So you convert it from the dollar into rupee, and rupee into Malaysian ringgit, and you put it back in the dollar terms. This is essentially how triangular arbitrage happens. And in both these cases, the locational arbitrage and the triangular arbitrage, you're not required to tie up or lock in some amount of money. It is going to happen instantaneously. That means you're not going to put it for a certain amount of time. You wait for the currency market to appreciate or change, or the bank change the bid price, ask price, and all that. You're not going to do that. You're going to do a very quick, and fast transaction. So that is how you take advantage. You just by changes in bid. Instead of dealing it in two currencies, now you do it in three currencies and gain more. This is the triangular arbitrage. Now, when it comes to the third one, the third aspect or the third type of arbitrage that you have is essentially the covered interest arbitrage. And in this is a very simple notion, because all it involves is doing a forward transaction, and that is essentially trying to cover or create a hedge. You're trying to hedge against changes in the currency, and you want to make some money. And so in this aspect, or what is the covered interest arbitrage, note the case covered. That means you're having a forward contract in place. Now, what you simply do is this: you take a certain amount of money. Say if you're sitting in America, and you put it in a certain investment market. So if you have say dollar in, so if you have let me rephrase this. You have India, you have America. So you assume that there is going to be a higher interest rate in America, in India. The spot and the current spot rate and the future rate, the forward rate are not going to change. It's going to be the same. The one thing is the exchange rate is not changing, but the interest rates are changing. In America, you have say 2%, or let's be more realistic. You have 2%. In India, it's around 4% or 5%. What you simply do is you take the money in dollars, you convert it into rupees and put it in Indian market for a forward contract. So after that forward contract is completed, what you essentially do is you get a profit out of this. So if you take, let's say you put some money in Indian market after conversion, and after the period completes, you're also getting your interest, which is more than what you actually invest. When you convert it back into your currency, what you find upon maturity is that you're getting more in your home currency when you uh, bring it back. That means you invest in India for in a forward contract, and then you get a covered interest. So that means even the interest amount is being covered. When you exchange that and bring it back into America, you find that the amount you're getting is much more than what you originally invested. Let's say you invest $80,000. That means if you adjust it into Indian rupees, you get a certain amount. That you take and put it in Indian market for say 90 days, or which is the usual basic transaction happening in forward markets. You put this, you take this amount, you get interest over it, and you convert the whole amount back into US dollars. You find that you're actually getting more than what you originally invest. So if you say you get 10,000, if you put 10,000, you get something like 10,200. You're gaining a difference up to you're left with 200 more than you originally invested. This way, what essentially happens is you're going to get more profit. The question now is, given that there's this difference, so you have one aspect is, so you have three, one is clear. You have three types of arbitrage: occasional, triangular, and covered interest arbitrage. So what essentially the simple theme around all this is, you're going to gain out of interbank transactions and inter-country transactions. And in the last covered interest rate parity, covered interest arbitrage, you are tying up funds. That means you're storing the funds in a certain investment for a certain amount of time. So you have to wait for that. So there is a time factor. So if things change and if say the currency suddenly appreciates, you're still gaining because it's a forward contract, and that is not going to exchange rate is not going to be factored here. And even if it does, and say uh, and dollar is going to appreciate, that means that once you get it back, you're going to get more dollars, so more in dollars. So this is how the whole system of interest rate parity and arbitrage works. What is essential in understanding these is that interest rate changes and exchange rate changes are sometimes hand in hand and both influence the other. And more often, the foreign interest rate influences the exchange rate than the domestic. And domestic is more impacted by the domestic changes than the foreign capital changes. But this changes in interest rate affect the exchange rate and overall capital inflows and outflows. Capital movements are going to change. That is the main point that is happening across, whether it's you're doing an arbitrage or you're not. So at the end of the day, what happens is essentially you're going to have a difference in money supply and all this is going to change. But it is all about the market and how it changes and how you make the best use out of it. So when you invest properly, you get the maximum returns. And that is the whole point in doing investment capital transactions. Because if the company is not able to get adequate amount of investment and not be able to expand much because of a limited financial problems or limited financial exposure, you would try to put that money, a certain amount of money abroad, and try to gain out of that and use that money for operations in the country, in the home country. That's how international financial transactions are, occur, and that's how firms generally try to take advantage of whatever country or differences in interest rates and exchange rate. So I hope you liked it, and thanks for watching. Stay tuned for the next video. And this is all about interest arbitrage and uh, interest rate parity. I hope you are right. Thank you. Thanks for watching.